regardless of how confident you are, if you keep on failing, it starts that there's this voice that comes in your head that starts saying, but are you really sure you can do this? There's so much evidence to suggest that you can't. What if everything that other people tell you about yourself is true? Welcome everyone to LifewithLiza podcast. Our mission at LifewithLiza is to share people's stories and the challenges that they have overcome so that those who are listening in can get the strength, the courage and the hope to be their better selves. Today we have a special LifewithLiza episode and I'm your guest, and I'll be talking today about the topic that I think is largely underspoken about, and it gets worse the more we don't talk about it. So I wanted to shine the light on it, and the topic is, drum roll, it is failure. Failing, sharing my own failures, my approach to failure, and how I actually redefine what success looks like by how many times I fail. But let's not get too much into the details of the conclusion of this video. I wanted to just say in the beginning, as an intro to this, is failure is so underrated. And I do understand why we don't want to talk about it, because nobody really likes to go and discuss their mistakes or what they've done wrong, because you feel so embarrassed. You almost feel angry at yourself sometimes, you almost feel sad, disappointed, and all of these negative emotions that are associated to doing something wrong the first time you did something, or doing something that you should have not done, or even just sometimes it's a pure not knowing and that can result in failure. But in all of that cases, regardless of why you failed or what happened, we all know that as we are all humans, we will all ultimately fail if we ever decide to put ourselves out there. So actually I wanted to talk to you today about one of my biggest failures, and I failed so many times. I was just thinking, which failure should I pick up to talk to you about today, which would be quite illustrative, and then there was one that stood out, and I will share my story here about it. And I will also encourage you to let me know, or please reach out, what are your failures or things that you're dealing with at the moment. I would be really curious to know, and let's raise awareness about this whole failing topic. So I am the type of person who never really failed the exams, and I was always the straight A student, and it was really easy for me to do that. And I'm not saying it in the bragging way, I'm saying it to give you a bit more context about what will happen next. And then I decided to take my driving license test. Not only have I failed my driving theory a few times, I've also failed my driving practice exam 5 times. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, 5 times. It was, even though now I'm saying this to you and I'm smiling, but please don't mistake the way I'm talking about it now for how I felt back then, because it felt like a heartbreak. I felt so sad. I was crying after every time. I was crying, and I felt like I even thought, will I ever be able to pass my driving test? Will it ever work out? Am I doing something wrong with my life? And all of these big questions started popping in. But let's just break down step by step, because I feel like I learned a lot from every exam that I've taken and failed. And obviously the biggest one would be, the biggest lesson is after the last one, because then after that one I succeeded, so I want to share it with you. So after the first one came as a shock, because I really did not expect that, and I thought it's something that everyone just does and it's so easy, that I remember just taking the metro back home and crying and being so embarrassed to tell anyone that I'm the one, this straight A student that failed the driving test, which is supposed to be so easy to do. I felt so embarrassed. I didn't know how to process my emotions, and and then I just decided to quickly take action again and jump into taking another exam, and I just rebooked it straight away, and then I failed the second test, and then I failed the third one. And I actually think about the third one, which was quite interesting. I was way less confident about my driving, and I feel like I even drove worse on my third one than I did on my first one, just because I figured out that there is a huge part which is actually related to skills, but at the same time there's also a huge part which is related to your mindset and how you feel about yourself. And sometimes when you actually don't feel confident based on your previous failures, it can also hinder your performance, even though you've become better because you've already practiced so much more. So I felt way less confident, and I felt like it was so hard because of this snowballing effect after each failure. But what was fascinating in all of that is that I have never taken the time, never, after each of my failings, to actually reflect on why on earth did I fail and what can I do to not fail again and to pass the exam and to do it better. By the way, the instructor who failed me, it was a different instructor every time, and it was a different outcome of why I failed. So it was not like there was one thing that I was doing wrong. But anyways, only after the 5th time that I failed my driving exam, I sat down and I went through each and every one of my exams, looked at the notes, looked at why I failed, reflected on it, and it felt just so painful, because you realize how many things you messed up, and at the same time so healing, because I knew that I can actually take action and do something about it and kind of analyze my mistakes. And what I wanted to say is, whenever we fail, it's almost like we receive this piece of gold. But the way we receive it is someone throws it at us. So because they throw it at us, it hurts. And what we want to do is just like protect ourselves and don't look at it and just like hide. But actually, if we open our eyes and look at it and pick it up, we actually see that it is gold. But the only way we can realize that what we received is gold is by actually open ourselves up, embrace the experience, look at it, realize it's gold, and then see what we can do with it. So that was exactly the case that for me. Only once I managed to open my eyes, look at all of my mistakes, be rational about analyzing them, creating a plan of action towards each and every one of them, then I received this gold and I could pass my exam eventually. And I don't want to understate the importance of a strong mindset in all of that, because regardless of how confident you are, if you keep on failing, there's this voice that comes in your head that starts saying, but are you really sure you can do this? There's so much evidence to suggest that you can't. What if everything that other people tell you about yourself is true? And things like that start coming up. And on the day that you actually do need to perform, what I found is very important for me was to put myself in the right mindset, to kind of know that the voice is there saying all of these things, but I needed to create another voice which was even louder, with saying that the positive affirmations, the actions that I was taking. I was before my driving exam person, I just took I listened to this loud music which was very energizing and empowering. It was actually the song from Eminem, which is like I'm not afraid and losing yourself. The lyrics of those songs are so empowering, so if you ever need some motivation and energy, you can listen to them. But these were the small bits and lessons that I was picking up from that continuous failure of my driving exam, and I wanted to share it with you. And then also from that, I developed kind of a model or system how I deal with failure, and I wanted to share it with you because I find it very useful, because as we mentioned, everyone fails at something. If not every day, we fail at something. It could be big or small, but regardless, it's such a common thing, and we should talk about it. So my model with dealing with something is Firstly, I make a certain hypothesis. For example, I say if I take 50 driving classes, I will manage to pass my driving exam successfully. And then I take action. So then I will go out there and actually take those 50 driving classes. And then I will try to do the exam and I will receive the feedback. The feedback being my action was successful, my hypothesis was successful and correct or not, and the feedback I passed or I failed, or it could be a partial success, partial failure, etc. And then I look at my feedback, I evaluate it, and then I take either similar or different action based on the feedback that I received from the world, from taking that action, from showing up and doing what I thought would work. And then I can adjust my hypothesis as well. Maybe my adjusted hypothesis in this case would be just taking 50 classes is not enough. You also need to work on your mindset. You also need to look at more videos of other people driving, etc. And then I take the other action. So now I'm taking driving classes plus taking an extra action like checking out YouTube videos, working on my mindset, writing my positive informations regarding me as a driver, etc. And then you just continuously do that. So basically there's your hypothesis, then there is your action, and then there is the feedback. And then there is the adjusted hypothesis, adjusted action, adjusted feedback, and you just basically go through it. And this is the model, the rational part of the model of dealing with failure. But actually before I jump into that model, there's always that emotional cycle, because whenever you fail at something, there's so many emotions, they just overwhelm you. And I also wanted to know that that's completely normal. That's completely normal to feel overwhelmed with all the emotions, the anger, the disappointment, the sadness, the nervousness, and all the negative thoughts. It's completely normal to feel them. And I feel like what works for me, whenever I try to push it away or to pretend like it's not there, it just doesn't help me. And what actually helps me is just to sit down with it and to be my best friend, to embrace all of the emotions that I'm experiencing, and to admit to myself, yes, you do feel scared, or yes, you do feel angry, or yes, that's such a pity that happened. But also to know that by being your best friend, you can give yourself that advice and say that whatever it happens, you can always get better, and that you've got yourself, that you do believe in yourself. And then once you embrace all the emotions, you can jump into the rational part and actually thinking what action can you take, what are your hypotheses, and action in the end cures all. And what I wanted to say to sum this up, that the ultimate failure is never failing at all, because whenever you try something new, whatever you put yourself out there, you will fail. But failure can make you bitter or it can make you better, and we choose. So if we decide to, after our forced failure, just to stop and not take any action and to let that failure define us, then it will make us bitter. And if we decide to actually learn from it, get better, pick up that gold that's like hurt you so much when someone threw it at you and you failed, pick that up, look at it and see what kind of beautiful lessons you got there, and then let that pain drive you to get better, to become the person that you ultimately are meant to be. Because if you were not trying, you would not be there in the arena, in the mud, in the dust, and actually trying to make these crazy dreams of yours reality. But you are there. And I wanted to end this video by actually redefining what success truly is, and what the founder of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, was saying, that actually her dad helped her define success as how many times you failed today. Because whenever you fail, you've tried something new. So that's a success. You're becoming better. So I want for all of us to fail better, to fail forward, to try to fail more often, because then we will get closer to actually achieving our full potential. And as painful as it is, we've always got each other. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation about failure and me failing my driving exam 5 times. And maybe now I see the reason in it, because otherwise I would not be able to share this beautiful failure with you and encourage you to always believe in yourself and to talk about failure openly. I love you all so much. And as always, I appreciate so much that you just watched this video, and I do hope that it does help you to talk about failure and take the necessary action. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and like this video. Let me know if you liked it, and I hope to see you soon next week. Bye everyone.